Alright guys, so there's really two ways to look at Microsoft's new Surface Laptop 8s. There's the Josh way, my way. I do a lot of different things on my laptop and I'm very particular. I hated using this one, so much so that I kept procrastinating finishing this video. Then there's the Xoie way, someone who just uses their laptop for basic use, like browsing the web, using Office apps and doing schoolwork. Well, in her case, she really liked it. So today, I'm going to first talk about why I didn't, and then I'm going to hand over to Xoie to tell me why I'm wrong. Now, thanks to Best Buy for sending us one of these two in for review. We actually have two of them here. This is the X Elite and this is the X Plus. We did buy the other ourselves. As you guys probably know, we're a Best Buy partner, but stating the obvious, they haven't seen this video and they are totally aware that not all our reviews are 100% positive, like the one you're about to watch. So let's dial back the clock, as this laptop is pretty much identical to the Surface Laptop 7 that came out in 2024. It's just a minor CPU bump. Now, when it first came out 2 years ago, I loved it. It was noticeably more premium than other Windows laptops of the time. The Surface felt well built, with a nice screen. It looked really stylish, especially with the blue colour that I have right here. And it had a comfortable keyboard and a haptic trackpad that actually worked. Most haptic trackpads, guys, in Windows laptops have dreadful palm rejection. The Surface Laptop 7, it also even had an upgradable SSD. Not only this, but it was one of the launch laptops with Qualcomm's new, at the time that is, Snapdragon X chips. These finally gave us Microsoft Copilot Plus, which everybody was asking for. Jokes aside, Qualcomm-powered laptops gave us longer battery life and didn't have annoyances like heat and fan noise, which had really plagued Intel and AMD laptops of the time. Now, of all the original Snapdragon laptops, the Surface and Lenovo's Yoga Slim 7X, they were the standouts. The Surface for its all-round premium experience at a relatively affordable price. And the Slim 7X, as it was the fastest, had the longest battery life, the best screen, and the most comfortable keyboard, but the Slim 7X, it was held back by a very cheap filling trackpad. Anyway, I actually switched to the Surface laptop as my daily driver. I even made a video about it. But after a couple of months, I had to dump it. There were so many compatibility issues with Windows on ARM, which is the version of Windows these Qualcomm laptops run. And these issues, they really affected me. My favourite game wouldn't run. The dock that I have right here in the office wouldn't work with it. The laptop also just wasn't that snappy for my day-to-day tasks. Now on that note, I did have the cheaper X Plus config. Also, the laptop's battery life was worse in the real world than in my benchmarks. It was rare that I got more than 5 hours. Also, it got very warm at the top left of the keyboard. Even in light use, if I'm just charging the laptop, bam, it gets very warm. Anyway, shortly after these Snapdragon laptops launched, Intel released their Series 2 Lunar Lake processors and later their Series 3 Panther Lake ones. Both just massively improved the efficiency of these Intel chips, and it really just erased the main benefits of Qualcomm laptops. Heck, even Microsoft ended up coming out with a business version of the Surface that used Intel. They knew full well that businesses weren't going to put up with the compatibility issues of Qualcomm. So, when these new Surface Laptop 8s were announced, I was genuinely excited. Could I go back to daily driving one? Qualcomm's latest X2 chips are supposedly darn good, so much faster than the first generation. Plus, 2 years have gone by for Windows on ARM to mature. So let's see how these new laptops do. Firstly, performance. The new Surface is definitely snappier than the older one. I'd assume some of this comes down to improved single-core performance and some comes down to more apps running natively on Windows on ARM. But if you look at benchmarks, you can see that these new Surfaces, they're not that much faster than the Surface 7s from 2 years ago. In Geekbench, multi-core performance is 15% better for the X Plus and 5% better for the X Elite. Now, Geekbench doesn't push the laptop to its max. We really need to look at Cinebench for that. Unfortunately, we didn't have the older X1 Elite Surfaces here to test this on, as this is a new 2026 version of Cinebench, so we can only compare the Surfaces with the X Plus chips. Here we see a 10% improvement in total multi-core performance and a 23% improvement in single core. It's really not as much as we would have hoped for, given it's been 2 years, especially its multi-core performance. Now, you may be shocked by how poorly these new Surfaces perform, especially if you've watched the sponsored videos from Qualcomm's Snapdragon X2 launch. In those videos, you'll have seen monstrous performance jumps gen on gen. Well, That's because those launch videos used the 18-core X2 Elite chip in the ZenBook A16. The older X1 Elites, they maxed out at 12 cores. So of course you're seeing huge performance gains there, 50% more cores. But those chips, they aren't available in the Surface or many Qualcomm laptops. Okay, let's take a look at my second issue, compatibility. Is it fixed? No, it isn't. Sure, more things run natively on Windows on ARM. Using Office apps and web browsing, fantastic experience on these laptops. But the game I play, it still doesn't run and my dock still doesn't work. Some accessories work through my dock like my mouse, but my monitor rarely does, it's just a black screen. And guys, it's kind of funny as a lot of productivity tools like the Adobe Suite now run natively on this hardware. But the issue there isn't compatibility, it never has been. It's performance. The integrated GPU in these Qualcomm laptops, they only give you basic performance. And you can't get these laptops with powerful dedicated GPUs. So most professionals wouldn't want to use those apps on these laptops anyway. My next issue was battery life. As you can see from our test, the new Surface has pretty much the same battery life as the old. I spent most of my time using the new Surface 8, that is, with the X Plus chip, as I did want to directly compare it to the Plus model I had used before. In the real world, I'd say I got an extra 30 minutes of battery life at best, that is, so maybe 5.5 hours. But from our graphs, it does seem I've been using the wrong Surface to begin with. The Elite version, it lasts a lot longer than the Plus model. Again, apologies guys, we don't have the older Surface in with the Elite chip to compare this to, but if this is true, and we have tested it multiple times, the extra battery life of the Elite version alone, that may justify paying more for that config. Alright, my last issue, the heat you feel. Unfortunately, the new models, they still get warm while charging. And if you are doing something on them that requires performance, they get hot. Here I am using Dropbox, it's doing a sync. Bam, the laptop hits a toasty 45 Celsius where the WASD keys are, you are going to feel this. You can see from our graphs, the X2 Elite version of the Surface gets hotter under load than the MacBook Air. And that laptop, it doesn't even have a fan. Talking of fan noise, if you're doing something intensive on the Surface, you will hear them going in a quiet room. They're not loud, but you will hear them. Realistically, I wouldn't buy a Surface for doing performance work, guys. The only reason to get the Elite chip is probably its longer battery life. So, overall, we've got a laptop that really doesn't give you the big performance jump that we had hoped for, and nothing else has really changed with this laptop over the last 2 years. At least, give me a USB-C port on either side for convenience, or something new. I'd take anything. In fact, the only thing that's changed is this laptop's price. According to the price tracker at bestlaptop.deals, the Surface Laptop 7 with the original X Plus chip, 16GB of memory and 512GB, it used to be available for $900. This new one, when it's on sale, is $1,200, so $300 more for the same thing 2 years later. You can see why I'm disappointed. Other laptops that have had price increases at least have gotten better over the last 2 years. Maybe they're lighter. The Surface is starting to feel a little on the heavy side for what it is. But we all know the world of laptop buying has changed a lot over the last 2 years. Given what's currently on the market and how the Surface is priced, is it actually a good buy when it's on sale for someone who's just using the laptop for basic tasks? Well, the answer is yes. It is very competitive for someone like that.
And I'm that someone. Unlike Josh, I use a laptop for very simple tasks like checking Pinterest, watching YouTube, and I have a desktop at home. So I didn't have the same docking problems and compatibility issues Josh had. He actually gave me all of the premium thin and light laptops to try. The Surface 8, the MacBook Air, HP's OmniBook Ultra, and Dell's XPS 14, and his Yoga Slim 7X. Out of those, I like how the Surface looks the best. Specifically, this shade of green. It's pretty different. I also like how the black Surface doesn't show fingerprints like the Slim 7X. That laptop just looks dirty after using it. I don't mind the Surface's weight, and it's actually not that bad. But one thing I did notice is that the Surface is a little hard to open if you have long nails. I was sitting there for a little bit trying to see if I could actually open it. The Slim 7X and the MacBook Air are clearly more designed for a gal like me, since they have a lip or a cutout. If you can get the Surface open, though, the display looks great. Josh did have me use the one with the better colors, though. Our X Elite model has better color coverage for professionals. The screen gets very bright, and they're high resolution, 200 pixels per inch, which is ideal. It makes small text look nice and crisp. The display has a fast 120Hz refresh rate, and it's a touchscreen. I personally love a touchscreen. And I definitely saw that snappiness that Josh mentioned earlier when I used it. It felt very smooth, and I like the little drag bubbles. When it comes to typing, I place this keyboard in the middle of the pack in terms of comfort. Something that a lot of people really like is how quiet it is to type on, which is great if you're planning on using it in a meeting or a lecture. The layout is standard, which is great too, so no mispresses. And there's a keyboard backlight. It's not super bright, but it does what it needs to do. I absolutely love the trackpad. It has really good control and the tracking felt natural. When I used the Slim 7X, I found that the 2-finger scrolling got stuck on that laptop, but it worked really well here. Again, very smooth and responsive, just like the touchscreen. The speakers sound okay, but when you compare it to something like the MacBook Pro 14, you can really tell how lifeless and flat it sounds. This is what I look and sound like on the Surface's webcam, and I think that it looks fine. But Josh says I talk too fast, so here's me waiting a little bit so you guys can look.
Thanks, Xoie. So, as you can see, if you're an average laptop buyer like she is, the Surface is a really good option in the current market. That's, of course, if you buy it on sale for around $1,200 to $1,400. At that price, you're getting a fantastic-looking laptop that feels very premium. But as you heard from my frustrations, it's not for everyone. There are plenty of laptops available at this price point with Intel or AMD that just don't have the compatibility issues of Qualcomm. Most of them, they won't feel as premium though, and they won't look as stunning. That is the trade-off. I'll list some options down below that we really like. And if you are open to a MacBook Air, I think that's better. It is just as premium as one of these, but it has less compatibility issues. It is lighter, and if you have an iPhone or Apple earphones, it will work better with them. But you do lose out on the Surface's touchscreen and its fast refresh rate display, which we know Xoie loves. If you are considering an expensive Surface and its price is close to the MacBook Pro 14s, please don't. The MacBook Pro is just a much better buy. It's not even funny, guys. Now, amongst Qualcomm laptops, I personally still prefer the Slim 7X. It's lighter than the Surface, you can get it with that powerful 18-core X Elite chip, which is what my model has, and funnily enough, it doesn't get warm like the Surface. Its keyboard also feels much more satisfying to type on, it's very clicky by comparison to the Surface's one that is, and that does make it louder, but I like it better. As Xoie said though, the Slim 7X does look cheap by comparison to the Surface, and its trackpad isn't as good. Alright, that's all we got. Prices are fluctuating like crazy right now. Make sure you do check out bestlaptop.deals before you buy anything. Over there, we track prices right across retailers and we literally call out if a laptop's current price makes it a good or great deal. Our full testing graph set is available there too. Until next time, go do something awesome with your day and I will catch you later.